And action! I'm a little teapot, short and stout. No. Hey everybody, Monster Comics Reviews. This is for the week of the 12th? No, that's this week. So it'd be the week of the 9th. Let's just say the 9th. That sounds good. For the week of the 9th. February the 9th. Then we're going to talk some comic books. And some of these books we're not going to talk a whole lot about because I don't got anything nice to say. One of those being All New Invaders. This is issue number 2. For me, the dialogue just continues to get worse. It's corny. I'm not even sure it's good old school kind of style of dialogue. The art doesn't save it because the art's just there. But just all around kind of ridiculous and not ridiculous in a fun or laughable or I can't believe they did that kind of way. Just absolutely not enjoyable. 100% not. It's going off my poll list. The next issues I get, I probably won't even talk about. Okay, that's where I'm at with that book. Next up, Captain America. Even though it's the big number 1 up there, it's actually really 16 point now. This issue is solely centered around Jet Black, which is awesome. I love this character. I think she's really interesting. She's dynamic. She's got a lot of interesting things going on with her. Her being the daughter of Zola, and you know, so she's got this kind of indoctrination into the ways of Zola. But she is also taken on some of the tenets of Captain America's ideology and beliefs. And so here she is in this issue, basically roaming around across New York, trying to figure out why is the earth so gross. I mean, she thinks what people eat is gross, the air is gross, the population is gross because the weak get to breed right along with everybody else, and all this gross stuff. But then she can see these interesting things like compassion and love, and those things which are foreign concepts to her, but for some reason that she likes the idea of them, or the feelings of those things, or that sort of stuff. So, you know, it's potentially there's a saving grace there, but she's not sure. In this issue, she also gets approached basically by the Red Skull, and the Red Skull and some of his minions, who basically say, hey, look, we were buddies with your father, and he had a backup plan in case he didn't make it here, that we were supposed to come and talk to you and make sure you were on the right team, the winning team, the Red Skull team. And she's left with a pretty hard choice here at the end, and she makes a decision, but I'm not sure I actually know what the decision is, and I think that was the intent at the end of this. It wasn't that to confuse me so much as you're left not knowing exactly which decision she really made. Did she... I mean, she says no with her mouth, but I'm not 100% sure she said no with her body. So, interesting. Like I said, really like this character. Glad to see this issue with her in it. The artist, Pascal Alexi, great art. Man, that was some good art in this, too. Really cool. Like I said, like this character. You're not sure where the rest of the Captain America story is going at this point, but if they're going to put more Jet Black in it, I'm going to be happily hanging around because I'm digging that character. As far as new characters go, pretty cool new character. Okay, next up, Detective Comics, issue number 28, Gothtopia issue. I'm not impressed at all with this whole Gothtopia thing. There's no mystery. They're trying to make, you know, Batman be a detective. There's no real detectiving in this. They kind of show him doing some detective stuff, but certainly this thing isn't written in the fashion of like you would think most detective type books would be, where we get kind of a murder mystery kind of a deal, or whatever the crime is, mystery kind of a deal. No, we were told right away who it was. The other thing we weren't told is exactly what his plan was. Then in this we get it. The plan makes sense. I'm just still not really that interested in what Scarecrow's plan is, or all these other people. There's some good moments in here, I think, between Batman and Poison Ivy. He realizes he needs Poison Ivy for her poisons and pheromones to mess with his head some, to keep him from being this new fear toxin that Scarecrow is using, to keep from being messed with that. So that's interesting. There's some great lines in there with Ivy and stuff. But otherwise, this Gothtopia thing just really is, I don't think it's that cool, really. It's not that intriguing or surprising unless they pull something out. But right now, I think this would have been more fun if it wouldn't have been so on the nose and just flat out telling us this is what's happening, as opposed to giving us some sort of a read and mystery. We're just, I don't know, paint by numbers kind of a story. And so that's kind of unfortunate as far as that. Earth 2, issue 20. Really, really, really liking this series. I love these characters. I love this group, this team that's together right now. I mean, yeah, I guess I could be missing, you know, Green Lantern, The Flash, and some of them, but I'm really not. This you know, new Batman, Red Tornado, and Aquawoman grouping is really cool. You got this Kryptonian that's really interesting. I love Lois Lane's character in this. She kind of talks this new Kryptonian guy down, or talks him into, look, we need to take some steps because there's some serious stuff going on here. I know you're not enjoying this, but we really need some help, and this is the time to put on the brave face and be helpful. I think big things are going to come out of Red Tornado, out of Lois Lane in this. There's just too much potential of that character not to. Really dig Aquawoman. Really cool character. Love how they use her. Love how they use her powers. Is really interesting. Just really excited by this. This book is really exciting right now. I mean, with Taylor coming on the book, it's just absolutely breathe new life into it. It's given it this kind of exciting edge that just makes you feel like big things are going to happen at any moment, and that's exciting to read a superhero book that feels like that. That there's this energy for that. So really great because of that. Forever Evil, issue number 5. Yeah, whatever. Taking forever for this thing to go by. You know, we established that Lex Luthor is going to be the person that's in charge of the team. I mean, there's some okay moments in here. So, you know, some discussion between Lex and Batman trying to say he's the boss. And but as a whole, it's just taking too long. It's taking long for this whole thing over. And it's not just that I'm impatient for it to be done. It's not enough is happening for this to be the investment that it is for 7 issues. And how it's tying up and messing up a lot of other stuff. So not really excited by it. Puts me back on the I don't care for event book type thing. So there's that. Forever Evil, Arkham War number 5. When we didn't think this could get any worse as far as I'm concerned with bad ideas, you got of course your Batbane running around, which is just ridiculous. And now we've got all the rest of the Arkham villains basically juiced up on an aerosol version of Bane's Venom, and so they're all crazy monsters now. I think the next issue is the last issue. I hope it is. Yeah, not been good. Green Arrow number 28. Great issue. Really excited by this. I love where the war is going at. We've got the bombshell has been dropped, and I don't know that it's really started to be dealt with yet. All he now knows about his father. He's trying to call bullshit on it. Hasn't quite had the ability to do that because, of course, they immediately get jumped by the Shield clan, which causes them all kinds of Shield. Yeah, Shield clan causes them all kinds of grief. They don't really have time to deal with the issue at hand. I really want to see that, though. I really hope that Jeff Lemire tells that story of how do you, as a person, deal with the fact that you've been put through all this horrible stuff for all these years, and to find out that your father was the one that was responsible for doing all this crappy stuff to you. I really want to see that story. I want to see that come to fruition. Really dynamic stuff happens with the rest of the clan, the outsiders. There's basically a coup, which is going to heat things up dramatically, I think. The one thing I didn't really care for the book was we get this little bit of side story back in Seattle with Ollie's 2 friends that help him be Green Arrow, getting hooked up with Diggle for them to do some fight against this warlord that's taking over Seattle. And I don't need that in the book. Still feels like that's just added there because it's kind of part of the TV show, and they're trying to mix the two together in some sense. So that part I'm not real keen on. The rest of it, though, is pretty cool. As always, Sarantino's art is amazing in it. So great for that, if nothing else. Number 1. An actual number 1. Loki, Agent of Asgard, issue number 1. Wasn't sure what I was going to be getting when I went into this thing. I am a fan of Kid Loki. Of course, Kid Loki starts to grow up and whatnot. So here we are with where Kid Loki comes from after being Kid Loki. Young adult. And I love the premise of this thing. The premise being basically that he's trying to rewrite his own history. He's trying to erase himself from all the books and all the records. So he's not painted as evil because in the past he's been a god of evil, which has never really been who he was supposed to be. He's supposed to be a god of tricks and tricksters and that sort of thing, which can kind of make him seem like a bad guy at times, but not actually be evil. So in the process of this, working to try and do that, he is working with the All-Mother, who of course is the one of the head honchos of Asgard, and has an agreement with her that if he does these works for her, she will slowly remove tales of him and his evilness out of the book of all. And so he's doing that, plus he's also got his own personal agenda to erase things. He sneaks in this issue, he sneaks into the Avengers building, not only to deal with some issues that Thor is having, but also to erase some records of his behavior back in the early Avenger books, and erase some of that stuff so he can slowly work at, because the tales are power. They're like magic, and they're locking him in and pushing him towards a path that he's trying to rewrite so he doesn't walk that path again. Really interesting stuff. I like the redemption-ishness of it. I like that kind of, trying to fix yourself, but at the same time feeling like there's this doomed burden hanging over you, that this albatross around your neck that maybe isn't going to allow you to do that. So that's really interesting. There's a great homage picture in here to one of the old Avenger covers, which is really awesome. The very end of this leaves really, perks up my ears and makes me very curious about what kind of story we're going to get as he removes an evil from Thor, and then when he gives it to the All-Mothers and the All-Mothers excuse him, the All-Mothers let that evil loose and have a conversation with that evil, which is going to really make the story interesting. So really, really digging it, enjoying it. The writer, Al Ewing, does a very good job of keeping some of the wit and charm of the character, and I think it's an important aspect to the whole Loki. So good stuff. Final issue of of Marvel Knights, SpiderMan. This is issue 5. Really love this series. Okay, so we get to the end of the story here. We get an end. The end is fairly simple, so it's not complex as far as that goes, but I still don't think it takes away from the grand story and mostly the visuals of this book. Mark Rudy just is bananas, mind-blowing. The art in this book is just amazing. It's something I may pick up and trade because the art in it, I mean, this is him at a dining room table being attacked by a bunch of stuff and spiraling out of control. But there is some scenes in here that are just, it's like Vertigo. It's like a Vertigo, like a glossier version of a really old Shade the Changing Man kind of a book or that sort of thing. The paneling and the artwork is just amazing. It's not hard to read, even though there's all this stuff going on. It's still all well placed. When he's fighting the spot, there's spots. It is just an incredible book. There's this incredible spread page where he's literally fighting every Spider-Man villain in existence. I mean, the Vulture, the Beetle, the Rhino, I mean, Scorpion, you name it, they're there, it seems like. Just an absolutely incredible book. It feels like a Parker book. And yeah, I really loved it. It was a great book. Really happy I got it. Yeah, good stuff. Can't say enough about it. Another number 1, another Marvel. Boy, got a lot of Marvel on here, being a Marvel hater. So this is Ms. Marvel, issue number 1. Beautifully written book. You immediately get a sense of, I think, of who this girl is. Despite all the advertisement and all the talk and all the excitement that has been around this, Muslim female character, she doesn't feel like a poster child of any sort for all these minority type things. that you could claim that Marvel's cranking this out for. I mean, I'm sure there's some motivation there for that, but still, a very well written first issue. I think it's pretty easy for us all to relate in some sense to Ms. Marvel. I mean, I think that any of us, anyway, that are older, are adults, you know, she just kind of wants to be somebody else. You look out there and it's, you know, the pasture's greener on the other side kind of a thing, and she kind of wants to be that. I mean, she doesn't, but she does kind of a thing. I think we've all been in that space sometime in our lives, so I think she's pretty relatable as far as that goes. So they have some stereotypes in here, and the stereotypes are there for a reason. The stereotypes they're stereotypes for a reason because they're somewhat accurate. I mean, even the kind of bigoted people that are in this aren't so over the top or ridiculous that it makes you want to, like, you know, go roll your eyes and go, oh, this is just ridiculous. They're making these people be, you know, this, you know, big of knuckleheads. It still works. You know, really interesting first issue. Really curious to know how she get her powers, what that's all about. You know, when she busts out the other end of the thing, a little bit of confusion there if you don't understand the fact that, you know, one of her powers is, you know, she has the ability to just change her shape. You know, so she ends this thing looking like the traditional old school Ms. Marvel, you know, the long-legged blonde in the politically incorrect costume, as she refers to it in here. But yeah, really great. Really excited to see what happens next. I think this is going to be a pretty special book. Another #1 from Marvel, and a real #1, The Punisher, #1. Wasn't sure I was going to get this. I actually picked this up off the newsstand. I really like Greg Rucka's run on The Punisher. I'm not a real keen Punisher fan. I mean, he's okay. He's fine. I don't have anything against him. It's just not something I'm typically interested in reading. But I thought I would check this out. Kind of curious to see what it was. There's some moments in this I really liked. You know, I like the... I kind of like the idea of what it would be like for him to go up against gangs as opposed to mobsters, because there's a little bit different environment there. Plus, in this case, it looks like he's going up against cartels, which is certainly a different kind of a monster than what we see him fighting when he's like in the New York area and he's fighting against mobsters and that kind of storytelling. There's a moment in here where he's at a diner and he meets a policeman. He gives her some tips. That was kind of interesting. It's not a bad book. I enjoy it. I'm not sure I'm going to keep picking it up solely because there's a lot of books coming out, and I'm not a huge Punisher fan. And this issue was a good issue, but it didn't have the things about it that I think I want to read to make this not just kind of a mercenary book where he's not getting paid by anybody. And I'm not really interested in war in that sense, and that's kind of what this feels like to some degree. So I'll probably end up picking at least another issue up off the shelf just to see what it's like, but I don't know that it's going to end up ultimately really be on my pull. Was enjoyable, but I just don't know that it's actually my bag. But well done for what it is. Superior Foes of Spider-Man, issue #8. Another, you know, great issue. If you like these guys, you love this one, you should be loving this. You know, love this comic. You should be loving this one too. Some great moments in here. I still absolutely love the fact that Boomerang, he is so messed up. He is so kind of downtrodden and so much the like D-lister villain that, you know, I love it when he's unconscious and his subconscious is going. He can't even have good dreams. I mean, in his dreams, his girlfriend, when he tries dreaming her topless, you know, she drowns him basically. There's just some wonderful moments. Lots of fun. The book's great. I mean, it's a shame it's going to go away at some point here because it's just been fun. I'm real curious to see how it all ends up ending out at the end of it. Because, like I said, it's just been fun. It's a good chuckle. It's not anything super deep, but at the same time, it is. Some of the gags they're playing or some of the story they're telling has these kind of I can actually really feel that moments, which is kind of cool amongst the humor that's here. But I think you need that for the humor to work the way it does. So good stuff. Okay, Suicide Risk, issue #10. We get some pretty serious answers to some stuff. Basically, this entire story is about these two, who we've met before. They're the ones with the P-Rod. They're the ones that for $5 grand have been handing out superpowers to people that they just seem to walk up to and go, hey, we think you might want superpowers. Pay us $5 grand, we'll give you superpowers. we get to learn these people's backstory. Where this P-Wand came from. How does it work? What's it doing? And there's this whole other interstellar something going on. And it's feeling like now that Earth is like the equivalent of a prison or something like that, where instead of executing people, it's like they're mind-wiping these powerful people who have superpowers, and they're putting them on Earth to live their normal lives. And these two chowderheads have decided to, not unknowingly, they've gotten a hold of this device, and they're thinking they're giving out potential, not reawakening the bad, which is ultimately what's happening. A great issue. The artwork's by a different person. The artwork's fine for this. This is a great issue to give us more of the mechanics of the whole world. We've had this arc of our main character kind of going bad and fighting all this stuff, and we get this kind of where it's kind of a slows things down, gives us this other aspect of the world. Really curious to see where it's going to go next from here. I'm assuming it probably won't be this story again. It's either going to be the our main character's daughter story or back to the main character again, I would guess, now that he's basically seemingly become Requiem, this big, powerful, evil person. And then it'll be curious to see how these other players, these aliens or whatever they are that are here, how they become players in the bigger picture now is going to be pretty exciting. Really interesting, really cool issue. I'm really glad I'm hanging in this thing. It's just kind of got a rich, interesting stuff going on that's not your typical superhero book, and it's great to see something like that. And finally, for this time, we're going to talk about Swamp Thing, issue number 28. Charles Soule and Javier Pinier doing an awesome job. Great story. Get an interesting backstory to Packing here, or however you say her name. We get that. It gets told in a reasonably organic comic book sort of way. We get the backstory to that. We also, the more dynamic thing we get is when Swamp Thing cut off all the avatars and cut the green off from all that whole, the pantheon, the Parliament of Trees. He saved a few people. He saved the wolf because the wolf was always nice to him. And then he accidentally ended up saving these other two people. One of them ends up being the lady who was Lady Weed, and this other brother, kind of monk person. Lady Weed, whereas I thought she was kind of scary and vicious before, now she is frightening. I'm really curious to see if they write more story with her. I think she has the potential to be like the worst serial killer ever put on the planet with just the way she behaves and stuff. Swamp Thing's kind of become responsible for them because mistakenly bringing them back to life basically and giving them the new lease on life. Now he's kind of like feels like he's committed to having to kind of watch out for them at this point. I think this is going to cause him some problems. Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting dynamic stuff gets set up in this to see what's going to happen. Really excited. Great issues of Swamp Thing. More people should be picking up Swamp Thing. I'm without doubt now saying that Charles Soule writing Swamp Thing, his stories are way more dynamic than the ones that Scott Snyder was writing. I love those too, but these have just got a little bit extra something that really makes me intrigued and excited to see the next issue of Swamp Thing. That's it. See y'all next week.